Today, I'm going to be deep diving the action bar system for chart raiders. Now, if you don't know what chart raiders is, it's a gamified software for day trading where I've taken day trading and I've added gamified features to it and put it into a software that I've been working on for years. Now, Chart Raiders releases in fall is free to play, or there's a beta period happening where you can go to chartraiders.com and pre-order if you want to become a part of the beta. And today we're looking at the action bar system. Now, if you haven't seen the Chart Raiders trailer, you can go to my YouTube channel and check out the Chart Raiders trailer, as I recently uploaded that. We also have a deep dive on our lobby system. So right now what you're seeing is the lobby system, and I go and I break down all these different features and what it looks like. But today we're specifically focusing on the action bar. Now, the action bar is a feature where every single trade you enter is going to give you a bonus to your action bar. So you have an action bar that starts at 0, and as it fills up, as you take trades, it fills up. So if you take a limit trade, it'll fill up a little more. If you take a market order trade, it'll fill up a little less, because that's the only difference that we have in market and limit orders. As we charge no fees for any trade maker or taker, you have only a difference of how much action bar you get filled up, no matter which button you press. You want to enter a trade immediately with a market order, do it. You just don't get as much action bar filled upon completing the trade. You want to enter that trade as a limit order, that's fine. You're going to get even more action bar. So it acts at a rate of maybe you get 30% of the same that you would get for an action bar, or you get 100% of the same as you would get for your action bar being filled on the limit order. So limit market really has no difference other than how much action bar it fills for us. And we offer a true one-to-one liquidation rate. We only use 100x trading on Chart Raiders, and our liquidation rates aren't like exchanges where they're 68 or 65 or sometimes even as low as 60%. Instead, you have a full one-to-one ratio on liquidation. So what happens is if you go negative 99% on a trade, that's fine. You're still in the trade until it hits that negative 100%. So that's just the action bar, how it operates, and a little bit of how it fills up. Let's go look at the bonuses for the action bar and start talking about a few of these different systems. So let's first talk about the parameters around the action bar system. Every trade you take fills some action bar. The action bar fills at a rate of 20% fill per 10% trade profits. And we might flip that to something like 10% for 20%, or et cetera, et cetera. We're going to figure that out during the beta period while we test this and see what's too much and what's too little, and all a part of our balancing act. The action bar fills at a rate of 15% fill per 10% trade losses. Now, this is interesting because we have the option to either say, if you're losing trades, should it punish you by giving you less action bar, or should it give you a little boost to kind of keep you up in the match, right? Like, I think that's a really cool idea. And let's use the comment section to allow people to kind of help guide what we want to do with this action bar. Now, whether it's some of these bonuses that we're going to get to for the action bar as we go through the bonus list, or whether it be the rate it fills during losses or profits, I think this is really cool because this is a project that I've built by myself without any investors or funding from anywhere. I funded this whole thing by myself, and it truly is a community-driven project. So I love when the community gets involved and can give me feedback and say, yeah, Cotton, it would be really cool if as we're losing trades, we kind of get like a little edge back into the match, which I think is cool. So we have the option, do we punish people for having bad trades, or do we give them a slight advantage, right? Use a comment section to let me know exactly what you think would be appropriate here, or any changes you might want to make, or any kind of different action bar bonuses as we go through it, right? When the action bar fills, it gives an action bar bonus and resets back to 0 to be filled again. So quite simple. You fill your action bar, you can go and fill it again and keep claiming bonuses. Now, let's get into some of these different action bar bonuses and what they do. Let's start with the prize bag. This is obviously the best one to get because it gives you an instant cash payout to your account. So let's say you have a $100 ticket that you entered a match with, and each match has 100 players. Therefore, leading 100 players who have paid $100 each, there's a $10,000 prize bag to be distributed in that match. Now, we don't take any of that. We distribute all prize bags back to the players. Rather, we just charge a small entry fee for every tournament. So you have $10,000 prize bag. And if you were to get 1% of the prize bag, well, you'd get $100 right there on the spot. If you were to get 2%, you'd get 200. If you were to get 3%, you would get 300. And there's a max 10% that can be claimed. So if all 10% is claimed by random luck because people landed on these prize bag bonuses, then the prize pool goes down to $9,000 or 90% for the rest of the participants in the match. Now, just to give a quick example, first place, if I recall correctly, gets 31% of the prize bag. So you've entered this tournament. The tournament is an hour long, or the match, I should say. The match is an hour long. You got first place. You left that match with $3,100. So it would be the equivalent of trading 100x with $100 and nailing a 3,100% trade, right? So it's a very nice way that people can really compound their accounts and make a lot of money really quickly. And then every place kind of gets paid in the Chart Raiders ecosystem, except for the bottom 40 people, I believe. But the top 60 players, so over half of the participants in the match, leave the match with something, which is really cool, even if they completely liquidate their account. So these are obviously really good ones to get. And I can see where people might even build their entire account just around getting more action bar, because we have classes and equipment that you can equip on your character to kind of trade the way you want to trade. In our classes, we have 3 classes: a swing class, a scalp class, and a position class. And they all have different benefits in the way they interact in matches. You might want to build your entire character around filling your action bar to try to constantly snake these prize bags. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of layers of strategy for people to kind of test these different parameters, right? That's how the whole software was built. So that's the prize bag bonuses. We have 56 bonuses total. And at random, you're going to be given one of the bonuses out of the 56 every time you fill your action bar. So let's go to the next one here. Double-edged trades. Okay, so we're going to zoom out a little bit so we can see the whole thing here. Your next trade will have a bonus of 3 to 5%. Your next trade will have a bonus 6 to 8%. Your next trade will give 25% more or 35% less. So at random, like this, 50-50 chance on trigger, at random, what's going to happen is if you're in a trade that's profitable, you have a 50-50% chance to get 25% more out of those trade profits. You also have an equal 50% chance to get 35% less. So if you made 10% and you triggered this side of it, well, you may actually end up only getting 6.5%, or you may end up with 12.5%, right? So there's a 50-50 chance on which side this triggers. Now, if you're in a losing trade, all the same, do you lose 25% more or do you lose 35% less? So this is actually good when you're losing, bad when you're in a winning trade, and vice versa for the 25% more. So this is a really interesting modifier that that interacts with the way that we do our trades, right? I'm just going to scroll down here so you can see it on your screen here. It says 50-50 chance on trigger. Your next 2 trades give 20% more or 30% less. So then that's a little less punishing or rewarding, but it happens for 2 trades. Your next trades give you 20% more, 30% loss, right? So your next trade, your next 2 trades, your next single trade, your next 2 trades give you 15% more or 20% less. Your next trade is increased by 10%. So this is just a flat ratio. So it's interesting because this is kind of like double-edged trades. Like it could be really good or really bad for you, hence the name double-edged trades. Next, we've got health pumps, right? So health pumps are a teammate gets 3 to 7% of their health total back, and health in our ecosystem is your buy-in. So you have $100 on a $100 ticket for your buy-in. You have a $1,000 ticket, which gives you $1,000 in your buy-in. So that's your bankroll, what you get to trade with during the match. And we have $10 tickets. So if you have a $10 ticket, you get $10 in your bankroll. So if you hit one of these health pump action bonus benefits, then you get 3%. A teammate gets 3 to 7. Your entire team gets 1 to 3%. 2 random team members get 3 to 5%. You get a 1 to 25%, give a teammate 1 to 25%, or give your entire team a 1 to 10% boost on their health. Obviously, this is the best one right here. But yeah, I think this is really, really interesting. These health pumps, and hitting them can have pretty drastic effects during the match and on your team or on yourself solo. Next would be the Tradilixers. Now, these health pumps, you can refer to them as potions. We call them Tradilixers. You have items in the game that allow you to use and fill up your health. Now, we're going to say our trading amount is our health right now, right? So if you have a $100 ticket, you have 100 health at the beginning of the match. If you go down to 50 health and you were to use a Tradelixer, you would get 50 health back, therefore bringing you back up to 100 health. Now, there's a few caveats to Tradelixers. You can only use a Tradelixer if a teammate has lost at least half of their account. So if they have lost at least 50%, it gives them that 50% back. So if they got to exactly 50%, they'd be boosted back to 100%. If they got down to 40%, they would be boosted back up to 90%. It's always 50% of the total sum for your Tradelixer. Okay, so this is something that's really neat, and it's a lot of strategy too, because now you can have classes that are completely built around healing teammates and healing yourself. You can have things where everybody has a 1 Tradelixer cap, so you can only use 1 Tradelixer per match per teammate. So that's it. That's your cap. Additionally, those Tradilixirs cost you real money. So to give $50 to a teammate, you actually have to spend $50 real to give that $50 to a teammate. And we have to do this because it's a placement driven system where first place is obviously worth the most. You can't just be spamming Tradilixirs all game just because you want to. You actually have to pay $50 for that $50 Tradilixir because that has a great impact on the standings of the match, which has a great impact on the amount of money you make at the end of the day. So you're welcome to use one Tradilixir per match per teammate, but you're going to pay for it. So make sure you use it wisely. Now, this benefit right here gives you an additional Tradilixir. So you'd be able to use 2 Tradilixirs per teammate instead of 1. Additionally, in your equipment panel, you can also raise your cap to 2 or maybe even 3. We don't get into anything obnoxious like 5 and 6 Tradilixirs where you can just constantly be hitting that button. But we do get into, there are classes in this game that are made specifically for healing, and that's the benefit you get. Just like there's classes that are made specifically to get more profits on their trades, right? You have to kind of design your strategy and compose your team and what makes sense. You might want to have one person that specializes in healing your team while the other person specializes in profits. And these are the things that make this so neat and interesting, is because there's so many different layers of strategy. And really at the end of it, all you're trying to do is see who can place first, second, third, fourth, fifth. And it allows you to balance how you like to trade with what you expect your trading experience to look like, right? So this benefit here is refresh your Tradilixir, refresh your team's Tradilixirs randomly. At random, a teammate gets an extra Tradilixir. Your next Tradilixir costs 30% less. Your team gets a 20% discount on Tradilixirs this match. We need to do that, Tradilixirs. Refresh your team's Tradilixirs randomly. Just pluralizing some of these. Refresh your Tradilixirs, get an additional Tradilixir. So this one here is interesting because if you've used one Tradilixir, it would refresh it. You would be at 0 out of 1 left. It would refresh it back to 1. This, if you were at 0, would go to 0 out of 2. So you'd get an additional Tradilixir to use. So there's some pretty interesting things in here with Tradilixirs, and again, and strategy. And next is team recovery. Recover a random amount on your next negative trade. So if you went negative 50% on a trade, you might recover the whole thing, or you might only recover 1%, right? You recover a random amount on one trade, recover half of the losses from a random trade this match. So this is almost like a potion where it happens instantly and you get to recover half of the losses from a random trade. Now that could be a trade where you only lost 3% and you recover 1.5%, or you might have lost 20% and you recover 10%, right? A teammate, your team, I shouldn't say teammate, this one says team, team recovers 6 to 8% of trade losses. These are all very valuable, as you can see. A teammate recovers a random amount from a lost trade between 1 and 30%, right? So these are really interesting, and we should cap this as well at 1 to 30%. And again, if anybody has any ideas or things they'd like to see, please use the comment section to help me theorycraft. As this is a community-based game and a community-based product, please help me theorycraft some of these things. Give me your ideas. Let me see if they're good. If they're good, maybe we'll put them in for a future patch. If they're terrible, well, we might not use them at all. But it's very cool to be able to open up that dialogue. Here's some stop loss bonuses that you get at random. 26, extend your next 10 stop losses 1% this match. That's not very good. We just cover an extra 1% stop loss for your next 10 trades. This one's obviously not a good one to get, but you have to balance really powerful ones with mediocre with really bad ones. Extend your next 3 stops 3%. That's kind of useless as well. It's not that useless, but it's like, there's a lot better ones that you get. This one's actually not so bad. Extend your next stop loss 10% this match. That one's good. This could be the difference between staying in a match or not. All of these technically could. I've had trades where I've been 1% away from staying in a trade. My stop loss triggers, this could cover that. This one's really good because 100%, if you had $100 in your account, for example, you put all of your accounts on, you went to 100% loss on that trade, it would actually extend it to 110%. So you might actually get to stay in the match over something like this. So again, a nice kind of good and bad type of setup here, depending on the scenario. Action bar bonus, fill your action bar 50%. Well, this one's obviously terrible because you have to fill your action bar 100% to get half of an action bar. So this one's really not good. Same with the 65 and 80%, but you need these in the game so that not everything feels so powerful and broken, right? Get 2 random bonuses next time your action bar fills. So you fill your action bar twice to get 2 bonuses. This has an interesting interaction a little later on where you can kind of use it to build combos, because there are things in your action bar that are timed. Like this one, for example, action bar fills twice as fast for your entire team for 5 minutes. Your action bar fills twice as fast for 10 minutes. You might get this 2 random bonuses and you might be able to stack these both at once, giving yourself 5 minutes of 3 times as fast. Your action your action bar fills twice as fast, making it 200% refill rate. Sorry, I should have said 4. And then your action bar fills twice as fast for 10 minutes. So you might have 400% fill rate for 5 minutes and then 200% fill rate for 10 minutes. So that's where this one gets interesting, because if it randomly triggers 2 time-based benefits, you can have some pretty powerful things happen, which are pretty random, but they do occur, right? Your action bar fills 25% faster for the rest of the match. Next is our XP stack. Get a bonus 10% XP at the end of the match, 20%. Your team gets a 3%, 4%, 5% at the end of the match, or a teammate gets 10% at the end of the match. So again, these are ones that aren't valuable in the match, but if you stacked enough of these, you could get some pretty crazy experience points at the end of the match, which gives you more level ups, which gives you more crates, which gives you more currency. So they're not great for in match, but they can be pretty powerful out of match. If you're in a team game and everybody starts hitting these and you get this crazy experience spike, they can be pretty powerful in some scenarios. They just don't have an effect in game, which is okay too. Again, you have to balance these things, right? Here we go, peak meter. Now, if you don't know what peak meter is, go watch the last video on the lobby system where we break down the peak meter and you'll be able to see exactly what this does. But for us right now, we're just doing the action bar setup. Get an extra 20% peak meter for the rest of this match, 30% for the next 15 minutes, double your peak meter for 5 minutes, double it for 10 minutes, refresh your peak meter twice as fast for the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 3 times as fast for the next 5 minutes. And again, another one where the double action bar might end up inadvertently triggering 2 of these, and you've got some pretty powerful peak meter bonuses. We've got trade delay, increase your trade delay. Again, the action bar doubles up here again as well, just to say that before we start. Increase trade delay by 25% for 15 minutes, 10% for the rest of the match, 50% for 5 to 7 minutes. Your team's trade delay gets increased by 10% for 30 minutes, 20% for 15 minutes. If your trade hits a stop, fill your trade delay. This one's interesting. So you're using trade delay, you have a stop loss preset, and if it hits the stop loss, your trade delay resets, therefore resetting your stop loss or your trade delay, allowing you almost in a way to have infinite trade delay. Pros and cons, right? Because yes, for 10 minutes you could add infinite trade delay, but your stop would actually have to be triggered. So you may get into a situation where you're getting too greedy and too caught up in, oh, I have trade delay constantly being used. Now, what happens if you use trade delay with a stop and your stop triggers out, exits the trade, refills your trade delay back up, but the trade starts spiking and ramping up like crazy? Well, because you use this benefit, you are actually out of the trade, therefore defeating the purpose of using trade delay to begin with. So this is kind of like a give and take. Use it with caution. Don't abuse it because it can abuse you back, but use it to protect yourself. So again, another really cool layer of strategy there. Your trade delay fills up 25% faster for 10 minutes, 15% faster for 15 minutes. And that is our first 56 action bar setups. Now, I have on purpose left the multiplier category empty. I have a bunch of stuff written down. I've deleted it for this video and put it aside. I'll re-add it on my own, but I want the community's input on what could we do for multipliers in this system. Now, we haven't done a deep dive on the multiplier system yet, but I'm going to show you a sneak peek of the next video, which is going to be a deep dive on the multiplier system. So multipliers work like so. Every time you take a positive trade that's above a certain percentage, you get a multiplier. Your multiplier stack. The first trade, you get a 1x. The second trade, you get a 2x. The third positive trade in a row, you get a 3x. If you take a negative trade, you lose these multipliers. You can set up your different class structure. So maybe you only lose half of your multipliers or 2 multipliers. There's different classes and different ways in which your equipment panel, you can control the rate at how you interact with multipliers and in terms of how fast you earn them and lose them. But again, it's give and take, because then you might create a character all for multipliers, but have no trade elixirs. You might create a character for having a heightened multiplier effect. It's not an all or nothing system. It's you can have a little bit of multiplier bonuses on your character, but then you might have really bad trade delay or no peak meter, right? So it's kind of how you set up your class. I won't get into that, but there's a lot of strategy there again as well. But the way it works is every time you take a successful trade, you get one of these bonuses at random from our 10 different categories. So the first one you have hit M1 randomly on this set of multipliers, you get plus 5% peak meter. If you also by random hit, oopsies, we need to actually grab this. You also hit number 2 by random on this set of benefits. Now you'd have an extra 10% peak meter with your 2x multiplier activated, therefore giving you 15% extra peak meter for as long as you have that multiplier up. And there's other ones here. All the other categories are very cool. And then maybe your 3x multiplier, your third trade, it goes applies on something else. And then maybe you come back and you also hit M7, which is your 7th successful trade. Maybe you hit it here. So then you'd have 35, 40, 50% peak meter for as long as you have those multipliers up, right? So this is really cool because I think this is an awesome opportunity for the community to kind of go and theory craft some of these multipliers for me. Tell me what you like. Tell me some cool interactions that you could think of with this. Now I have mine all set out, but I really love hearing from the community. So make sure you comment on everything that's action bar and everything that's multiplier in this video. And the next video is going to be on the multiplier system too. So we can do it over there as well. But for now, let's use this comment section in this video to have some like kind of back and forth and create some cool things here. So that's it for the action bar system and the deep dive on it. If you haven't pre-ordered Chart Raiders yet, make sure you do so, as you'll get beta access with a lot of really cool benefits that you'd otherwise have to pay for in-game, which would cost you more money because they're on a discount sale for pre-order bonuses. So thank you for those who pre-order. So again, pre-order beta access comes out in summer. Go pre-order it now. It's on chartraiders.com. Our full release comes out in fall, and that's going to be free to play for everybody. Free to play, pay to swag kind of thing. And otherwise, thank you so much for being here in this deep dive on the action bar system, and we'll see you on the next video where we go over the multiplier. Like, subscribe, share, etc.